So I'm going to be showing you how to make a tincture. I've been making some tinctures now for about a year, the different types. The one I just made here recently today is a dandelion tincture. A tincture basically is a herb or a root or something similar to that being soaked in alcohol. In this case, it's vodka. So what we did today was going to be a dandelion. I'll be going through showing you how we harvested that and how we prepared it. This is a dandelion leaf, all right, and this is the dandelion root. The root is more for like a detox kind of thing for the digestive system and also the liver. You don't want to take too much of it; could cause some diarrhea issues and that kind of thing. So, but it is kind of something to kind of help with the digestive system. And also the leaf is more of a diuretic, and also it has a lot of potassium in it. This is one of the things I'm kind of more excited on with high blood pressure. You take high blood pressure pills for that have the diuretic in it. So this may be a possible natural way for that to be accomplished there. The good thing about with this right here, with it being a diuretic, is sometimes you can get low potassium if you're expelling too much liquids. This is very, very high in potassium, so it kind of helps you be less likely to run out of potassium. Also, we have had some issues in our family over the last couple of years with low potassium, so this would be another thing to help out with this too. All right, so it's springtime, and here we are. We're going to go ahead and be digging up some dandelion. The goal here is to get some dandelion leaf, root, and also the flowers. So right now, obviously, they're easy to find in springtime. We're just looking for the yellow flowers. Started out with a small shovel. It was a lot more work, and so we're just going over to a big shovel here and kind of moving a few inches away from the blossoms here, trying to get as much of the leaves as possible. Going basically straight down, unless we hit a rock like I just did. And we'll go to the other side. There we go. Let's go down about halfway to the shovel at least. So I'll kind of pop it up here. Let's go get down the ground. The reason for this is, and this is even kind of damp ground. I suppose if it came out immediately after it rained, you might be able to pull it up, but these roots are tap roots. They go down really far, so it's very difficult to actually get as much of the root as possible. When doing the tincture, we want as much as the roots as we can. You can also do the leaves, but the primary thing we're looking for here is going to be the roots. Just kind of separating it up. You can already see, I think that may be part of it right there. Just keep on breaking it in half. Kind of trying to go perpendicular with the roots here, so we don't try to break the root and lose it. And the funny thing I've already discovered with this, sometimes you see one and you get that much root, and then you see another one you think it's even smaller, and once you start getting into it, you get a really long one. All right, so this is a fairly decent sized one I've seen so far. Trying to get as much dirt off that as possible. So you see that little tap root right there that we're looking at here. So that's what we're kind of looking for here. Of course, we'll take all these inside and wash them off. Some other examples that I got already. Look at some other ones here. So that was really good there. That's another reason you want to go down really deep. You can see how deep that was, and even it broke there. So if we were going down deeper, we'd have got more tap root on that. But I'm not getting many of them that have really long. A lot of them are about this size here. So you really don't know what you're getting into until you actually dig it up. Well, if possible, we're going to say maybe some of the greens. Some of these greens look kind of swiveled up. Probably the roots for the most part. All right, so after we get some more dug up, then we'll go ahead and go inside, clean them up, and move forward. All right, so now I washed all the dandelions that we pulled up. This is probably the best one that we got here. I did remove all the little things that have, like these little things coming up here, like the possibly the little puffball things. I did leave a few of the flowers on there, and made sure we kind of rub the roots, try to get all the dirt as possible off of there. And I'm going to be tincturing these separately. The roots always usually have a longer period of time that you need to have them to be tinctured compared to the greens of any kind of herb. Usually you can go about 5 to 6 weeks. The roots need at least 8 weeks. So go ahead and we'll cut the roots off right there. All right, and we're going to save that separately. And then the greens, we're going to let them kind of dry out, put them in a separate container. A couple more times here, just cutting the root off right there at the base. So that way we have a bunch of the roots that we'll be drying out here separately. Alright, now we're not going to, you can put these in a dehydrator, of course, if you want to. That would be another way to store these. That way you can use them as needed to make a tea out of or whatever you want to. But for now, this is going to be more for tincture, so I'm just going to let the water evaporate off of these and dry out. And then we'll cut them up even smaller. For example, we can go and cut these up to about size or B. Now you don't want to put them in a blender necessarily, because that would just make them mush. And then the liquid, the vodka, wouldn't be able to penetrate into it so good. So that's about a good size right there, you can see. So those would be things that we'll be putting in the actual liquid to become a tincture. The roots have already been cut up here into little small pieces, as you can see there. And you know, about as small as you can get it, but not quite like a powder. Those are going to be tinctured separately because they have separate properties than the leaves. The leaves, what we have left here, we're just going to cut off the kind of the white stalky part there. No need to keep that. And we're looking more for the green. So you would know some of the leaves for some of the plants look like this. There's not really much green there. They say you're supposed to actually get this before they flower, but a lot of times it's hard to see the dandelion until the flower comes up. But you can definitely see there was plenty of green on that there. So then we're cutting it up in about 1/2 inch sections here. Right. We're adding to our pot. Right. And we're just going to do that with all these, and then we'll be tincturing. Then we'll be tincturing the roots in one thing, and then tincturing the leaves in another. All right, so now we have everything cut up. So we got the roots here and the leaves there. So now we're actually going to make the tincture. So the kind of the rule for thumb on this is when you have something kind of really light and fluffy like this, you're going to fill your container up more. This is pretty much for any kind of a tincture, especially if it's fresh herbs, in this case dandelion leaves. So we're not going to fill it all the way up, but you know, they say about 2/3. But then you don't want to pack it down all the way, but you are going to pack it some. You don't want it totally compressed. So we'll go ahead and fill this in here. Wide mouth will obviously be easier, but mason jar, but this will still work here. So we see it's almost looks like it's full, but you know, there's lots of air gap in there, so we really need to kind of pack it in there. You can tell I'm just lightly packing. I'm not like getting a plunger or something, kind of a wood stick, and trying to poke it all in there like crazy. So if I push that down, you can see that's pretty close to about 2/3 of the way filled up compared to the top of the jar. So for fresh herbs, that's pretty good there on that part. On the dried, not dried. So on the roots of the dandelion, which we cut up very small here, as you can tell there from right there from about the size of it. We're going to put them in a container that's going to be filling the container by halfway. I was going to do a pint, but there wasn't really much in there to fill all the way up, so we got a smaller size here. So we're going to dump it in there. All right, so this is, so that's about halfway. So there's not near as much air gaps in this as there is in that right there. So that would still be okay to fill that right up there. Some people would say fill it only up to the top, but you want it totally submerged, because if you don't have it submerged, you're more likely to get some bacteria growth. Right, so now we can go ahead and fill these up with vodka. Now, generally speaking, the cheapest vodka you can get, which should be okay. This was pretty close to the bottom shelf stuff. It does need to be the 100 proof here that you can see. So that way you know, some people would say 80. but just go ahead and go with the hundreds, what I recommend there on the 100 proof. So we're going to go ahead and fill these up. Okay, just start covering it, and we'll go ahead and go up close to there. I don't recommend having too much of an air gap. To me, more air causes more issues can happen with contamination. All right, then we shake it up. All right, and then we do the same thing with the leaves. About 1/8 of an inch from the top there. All right, so I mean, it's not extremely difficult, but that's basically it. Now the next what has to be done is they need to be shaken every day, because what would happen, especially with the leaves, if they were to be sitting in an area where the leaves were touching each other and there wasn't a liquid there, that can kind of cause like a bad spot. And by shaking them up a little bit every day, that kind of keeps them agitated and the liquid moving around them. Also, if there was something like something sticking out of the top, by shaking it, that would keep it wet there too and kind of mix it up. Same thing with the roots. Yeah, once a day you can pick them up, shake them up. The leaves being a kind of a soft thing, usually about 6 weeks is what it takes for those to be ready, and then at least 8 weeks on the roots. Sometimes I'll go longer than that if it's a really hard root. So this will be either 8 to 10 weeks, 1 or 2 on that there. All right, and then after that gets done, then we can strain it and like through a cheesecloth, and that would be our tinctures that we use.